Hi, welcome back to Talking About Success. I'm Jack Canfield. My next guest is Jennifer Marcenelle, who's the author of a new book for nurses about overcoming burnout. And I love it, going from burnout to burning bright and becoming a self-healer or focusing on your own self-healing so that you can be a super healer to other people. You've been a critical care nurse and a business executive, and you survived a near-death experience with burnout. I want to have you actually share that with us. So you're passionate about this mission. I got that from talking to you earlier today. So talk about your passion and why you're so passionate about it.
So at the age of 44, I had a near-death experience with burnout. And once I came through the other side of it, it was actually the best worst thing that ever could have happened to me. It sent me on a journey of self-discovery. And I literally had to learn how to heal my life in every aspect. And once I came out on the other side of that, I realized that I needed to help other nurses too and serve as a resource and really help our nurses provide what they need so that they can literally move to burn bright in their life every day.
Mm-hmm. You shared with me before we came on air a little more detail about your near-death experience. I take a moment and share that because I think it was so profound. I don't think I ever really realized how almost life-threatening burnout can be until you shared that story.
Yeah. So I was at work in a particularly stressful day. Mm-hmm. And just to provide context, this happened over years. Kind of a slow burn-up. I even call it like cellulite, right? Negative drip after another. It kind of sticks to us and mars our beauty, right? Mm-hmm. And I was at work and expecting a fantastic day, and I had a very unexpected conflict with my manager. Mm. And I really don't remember a whole lot about what happened next, but I was at home circling the living room, and I was just pacing, and my hands were shaking. And I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And my heart was pounding, and I was crying. And I made it to the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and my pupils were two different sizes. And my inner nurse stepped forward, and I knew I was in big trouble. And my inner nurse said, "You don't want to die, you are dying." Mm. And I managed to get right out to the couch, and she helped me get into contemplation, which is a form of prayer. And I had a phenomenal out-of-body experience. I asked for help, and my spiritual guide, who's always there with me, stepped forward and took me out of the body. And I was in an adobe-like structure, looking down over what was going on. And I was on a cot, and there were 4 or 5 masters working diligently to save my life. And I was shown, without judgment, without remorse, without any harsh feelings about what had happened, but I was shown what I had done to myself. Mm. And I had injuries that were incompatible with life. I had a big, giant burn through my heart center. And they were just working diligently to save my life. And once I got the message of that, I was taken up, and we were on the top of a mountaintop, and my spiritual guide was there on a blanket, just sending me lots of love. And I was recovering, walking through the grass in barefoot and up on a promontory in a nice yoga position for balance. And sometime later, I'm not sure when, I came back down on the couch. And the gravity of the situation hit me that I was very near death. And I made a major decision to dramatically change my life and began the healing process and got started off on this whole new journey. Mm-hmm.
You talked to me earlier about how the stress that nurses are under. Talk about that for a moment.
So nurses are very special people, and they're holistic by nature, right? So they're charged with caring for, stabilizing, and nurturing the patient, but not only the patient, but the family and the friends as well. So they're charged with holding together our community, one that is in a very fragile state. And these are transformative times in healthcare, and they're catching it from every direction, having to do more with less, and they just don't have the resources they need to heal themselves and be able to heal their patients.
And if this burnout continues at the rapid rate it seems to be happening, I know here in Santa Barbara where I live that there's a tremendous shortage of nurses, and it's hard to find them, and they're hard to keep them in the business and so forth. What does that portend for our healthcare system?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to who nurses are and what it is that they really do. And nurses are the heart of our healthcare. They're heart of all patient care. And up until now, they haven't had the resources to give them what they need to do their jobs every day. So to provide a little context, there are 4.3 million nurses in the United States, and up to 66% report burnout. And of the newly licensed nurses who are coming in, 17% of those nurses are quitting after the first year.
Wow.
And a staggering 33% are quitting after year 2. So we're coming up on 2020, and we're projecting the largest nursing shortage ever, which is a crisis, really. So if we're not able to heal our nurses and keep our nurses in our profession, we still have to grow the profession just to provide the health of our communities everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's a crisis, really.
So you have a book, but you also have a program built around that book for helping nurses. Talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So I mentioned that nurses are naturally holistic, mm-hmm. and up until now there really hasn't been a resource to provide for nurses' needs. So what I bring and what my program brings is that holistic approach, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual support to give them what they need to improve their lives every day, improve their patient care, and improve their patient outcomes, which then of course translates across the healthcare system.
Mm-hmm. And talk about that too, because not only nurses, I mean the whole healthcare system, everyone involved with it can benefit from what you're doing, because I see doctors are burned out, the other people that work in the healthcare professions, support people are all burning out as well. But it's so stressful.
It is. It's I call it like a slow IV drip. It's kind of like cellulite, right? Where you have one negative experience after another, after another, after another that kind of sticks to us like cellulite. And this can happen across healthcare. It can happen to all caregivers. It can happen to hospice. You're exactly right. It's insidious. It kind of sneaks up on you. And unfortunately, in these times, it's across the board in our healthcare system to health caregivers everywhere.
Now, have you worked with other nurses and seen the changes that occur from this?
I have. And I can give you an example, a little bit of that. Yeah. Okay, so part of what I've created is Crash Cart, and that's a process for nurses to follow to help them. They can draw upon that in any time that they have like a stressful situation or in an environment where they just need to get centered and help out. So I take the Crash Cart and work with nurses to provide something that they have on demand, if you will. So in one example, I was working with a nurse who worked in the pediatric intensive care unit in the state of Florida. And this particular hospital had a very high incidence of near drowning for toddlers. So this particular unit was highly stressed. And one toddler after another, it was very, very stressful. And this particular nurse just one day had a child, a near drowning patient, and she just went numb. And she just couldn't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And there's a bigger problem with this because nurses are tribal. And nurses are a unique balance of warrior and healer. So the other nurses in that unit picked up on this perceived weakness, if you will, and they really kind of hazed her out of the unit, kind of bullied her, if you will. So she ended up leaving the unit. So when I was working with her as an individual, we went through the Crash Cart to really kind of get a feel for where is the weakness and where was the issue, where was the block, right? And this particular nurse knew her protocols. The protocols in the background were not the problem. The missing piece for her was that she didn't have the understanding or the ability to connect with and call forth her higher self and allow the higher self to step forward and come into the care, if you will, and then to accept the result of whatever happened to these children that she was treating, and to understanding that whatever happens to that patient outcome has nothing to do with what she did or didn't do. There are other forces at work here. And to help her do that, and to help her pull from her divinity, and as the part of the nurse and as the part of the healer, and how to hold the baby up into the light and sound and allow Holy Spirit to do its part of the work as well. That was the missing piece for her. And once she got that, it changed the way that she was able to approach nursing and to be able to be detached, call upon her protocols, but allow higher forces and have that understanding and release the results. So that made a big difference for her. Now, in her case, I worked with her to transition her to another area of care that was better suited to where she was in her life at that time. But the next phase of that was to get back into the unit and help balance that unit out a little bit. It's a very high stress environment, and worked with the unit to kind of balance that warrior type, healer type, get it in balance and get everybody back on the same page, that they're there to care for that patient. The reason they're warriors is because they have such tremendous responsibility to take care for those babies, right? And once we got everybody back on the same page of what they were all there for, things settled out.
Very cool. Now, Crash Car is it's a what do you call it? It's each of those letters in the word stand for something. An acronym.
Sure,
Thank you. A little brain freeze there for a moment. So just run through that real quick for us.
So C stands for calm. So oftentimes in a stressful situation, you speed up. So to calm yourself, you literally slow yourself down. You take 10 slow, deep breaths through your heart and settle down into the situation so that you can handle it. R stands for realign, which means to realign with your higher self. Call your higher self forward to help work in the situation as well. A stands for accept, and to release the result of this patient outcome, and to just know that whatever happens has little to do with what you did or didn't do. There are other forces at work here. S stands for stabilize. To stabilize the patient by pulling up the protocols, standards of procedure that you know so well, allow those to work. You'll automatically know what to do. You know these protocols so well. And H stands for healing. To hold the intention of healing, hold the patient in the light and sound, and allow Holy Spirit to do its work.
Very good, very good, very beautiful.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing. It's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
So if people want to find out more about you, your book, your work, your ability to consult with them, your program, where do they go?
Sure. I put everything in one place, and it's on my website, which is www.jennifermarcenelle.com.
All right. You can see that on the screen, jennifermarcenelle.com.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I wish we had more time. I'm sorry we don't.
Yes.
But thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Check out her website, and let's get back in alignment with our high self and allow Spirit to do its work. So hang on here. We'll be back after this message.